are days like this like for you as news breaks the way that it did, given what the Cowboys did today?
When the Cowboys are making moves, it's great. I'll be honest with you. I obviously I enjoy being paid to do the job, but I just naturally, I love sports. I love the NFL. I love covering the Cowboys. I love the interest in the Cowboys. So when they're making moves and there's energy from the fan base and people care what's going on, I love that. That's my favorite part of this job. And frankly, over the last, couple of years, there hasn't been a ton of that. I mean, there's, back-to-back 12-win seasons, and that's great, and there's momentum building in the playoffs, but then it's the same old in the playoffs, and they're not making the big moves to add anybody outside the building in this time of year when a lot of fans are hoping for something. And so, to make that move for Stephon Gilmore, to re-sign Donovan Wilson, to bring back Leighton Vander Esch, and then the fact that, heck, the probably the biggest move of the offseason is that they were able to retain Dan Quinn at defensive coordinator. This has a chance to be the best defense in the NFL, and that's pretty exciting.
What does this say from your vantage point about what the Cowboys not just believe in terms of Dan Quinn being the leader of this defense, but that they continue to invest the kind of resources at positions that normally, whether it be safety, which they don't necessarily customly pay, or now trading for a corner in Stephon Gilmore? What does that say in your mind about their confidence in not just that unit, but Dan Quinn specifically going forward?
Well, yeah, it says a lot. And I think a big part of that is, they're able to find guys like J. Ryan Kearse on relatively affordable deals and Malik Hooker. And when we know that they're not going to do much in free agency, what they do in free agency, especially on that side of the ball, they've been able to find some bargains that have played some pretty big roles. And then the fact that, Donovan Wilson, Leighton Vander Esch, two good examples of you really get to feel that Dan Quinn has gotten the most out of them. And certainly to take a 12th pick overall in Micah Parsons and turn him into one of, if not the best defensive players in football. He's just, and then Trayvon Diggs. Look what he's been able to do the last couple of years. So I don't think that they would be buying into Dan Quinn just on name alone as former head coach. You got the Falcons to the Super Bowl. That gets you in the room. That'll get you, a job, but what he's been able to do with it and take it to the next level, that's got to give you a ton of confidence. And it just seems like him, the scouting department, the front office, everyone is on the same page on that defense. And he's turned it around so quickly from where you just, I know 2020 might seem like a long time ago, but for me, it's really not. And just how bad that defense was in 2020, to even think that if you would have told me then that in 2 years they might turn this around into one of the top defenses in the NFL, I wouldn't have expected that. So, obviously a lot of credit to the front office, but, a ton of credit to Dan Quinn.
Johnny Matches. Can I call you Johnny Matches?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Do we have any idea about what the timeline of this Stephon Gilmore in particular deal was? Because I understand it's a little soon. We're close to the deal actually being made, but it'd be really interesting to see how the Cowboys front office has been thinking about this position.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me because, you're out of the combine for a week and you're around Mike McCarthy and you're around Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones and, on and off the record. And they just, I didn't get a lot of read on them going in this direction for a veteran corner like this. And the other part was, too, is I just felt like where they were at 26 just lined up where there's a good chance when they go on the board, if they stay at 26, the best player available, which that's what they've taken since Mike McCarthy has taken over as head coach, is the best player available more often than not. I just feel like it would be a corner. So I just kind of wrote that off as, hey, they feel good about Diggs. They feel good about Bland. Draft another corner there. And you got Jordan Lewis coming back for another year. And then to make a move like this, I'll tell you, the biggest thing that stood out to me about it is I've been covering this team for a decade, and moves like this just fuel my fire on the whole. In the off season, during the season, when anybody throws out, the Cowboys are interested in this player, this is the player that they might be going after, or they need to do this, those deals never happen. Just think about the ones that have happened with the Cowboys, whether it's, going back to signing Greg Hardy, trading for Michael Bennett, trading for Amari Cooper, the trade today, going to get Everson Griffin. None of these moves that move the needle in the moment did we know about anywhere. At local level, national, nobody was tipping any of these. So basically what I'm telling you is is if you guys want to try and figure out who the next veteran wide receiver that they're going to sign or trade for, you might as well just take all the receivers in the league, put them on a dartboard, and just throw the dart at it somewhere, and you got as good of a chance of guessing as anybody who thinks that they're going to trade for Stephon Diggs or trade for Mike Evans or sign Odell Beckham. Like, it just seems like when there's really a move that they make, very few people know about it, which is obviously a smart thing to do. And it generally doesn't get out. I'm literally racking my brain trying to think, when's the last time that they've made a move that everybody just kind of expected and they were like, well, we knew that this was going to happen.
It's hard to imagine that. I mean, the Cowboys needed a receiver back in, 2018 when they traded for Amari Cooper. But still, when it happened, the fact that they gave up a first-round pick to do it, which is something that they have done in the past, Roy Williams, Joey Galloway. But at the same time, a stealth move in this manner for a position of need is something that I think excites a lot of Cowboys fans. Jon Machota, The Athletic, joining us here on the Get Right, or Reggie KG here on 105 through the Fans. So as we spin this forward now, the activity from the defense with Stephon Gilmore, Leighton Vander Esch, 2-year, $11 million deal, Donovan Wilson now back in this secondary. You had kind of tweeted out the potential and projected starting lineup on the defensive end. Before we go to the offense, is this one of the 5 best secondaries now in the NFL, given what this defense is projected to start going into 2023?
I would think so. I mean, without having the other depth charts in front of me, and obviously other moves have to be made, I find it hard to believe that it wouldn't be in that group. And that's another one. I mean, heck, point back to 2020, you can go further back than that, just the fact of what they have at safety for an organization that, I mean, there were several years there where I was breaking down entire rosters of everyone in the NFL and could easily make the argument that they had the least amount of investments at safety of all 32 teams. I mean, it was like they weren't even trying. They were just kind of plug it in with, J.J. Wilcoxon and draft Matt Johnsons and things like this that we're just not getting it anywhere near the level it is now. And now, I mean, heck, everyone talks about the 3 main safeties because they're able to keep them together with Malik Hooker and J. Ron Curse and Donovan Wilson. But I'm telling you, Israel Mukuamu is a player that in the star, man, they like a lot. They want to try and find ways to get him on the field. You saw it this past year how they were moving him, allowing him to play some corner. I mean, he is really thought of highly. So there's great depth there. And then at corner now, you have 4 solid corners now. With you get Gilmore with Diggs, and then the fact that you have Bland and then Jordan Lewis. I mean, that you're in a great spot there, and I can see them drafting another one. So to be able to make up for what looks like is a not a great draft pick in Kelvin Joseph, and to be able to kind of make up for it and change things pretty quickly, that's pretty huge. But yeah, their secondary, it's got to be on that level, especially if all those guys are healthy. I mean, I put it up against most in the league, that's for sure.
Now, as we've been going through this offseason, the secondary hasn't been the place I've been focusing on. I've been focusing on the linebacker room because there was a point in time where the linebackers you were going to have was going to be Damone Clark, Jabril Cox, and question marks. Today, they bring Leighton Vander Esch back, but that seems like you probably still need some depth in that linebacker room. Is that a place where you could see the Cowboys still playing in the free agent market, or should we just kind of expect that to be a day 2 draft or something to that effect, a fill-in and someone who will play special teams, and that is it?
I honestly think they'll do both. But in terms of adding somebody in free agency, I think it'll be on a player on the level of like a Luke Gifford, who obviously they just lost Luke Gifford in free agency. But on that type of a level, it isn't going to be somebody that they're going to add that you're going to think that they're going to start. I mean, heck, there's another move. I mean, talking about ones that you didn't really expect. I mean, we're at training camp and they're going to add Anthony Barr last year, So, I mean, there's still stuff that they can do there with adding a veteran here or there and then drafting somebody maybe in the mid rounds, like they have with Damone Clark and Jabril Cox. So the one thing I will say is that now that they have Leighton coming back, and I do think you're going to see a jump from Damone Clark in year 2, I don't think there is as much concern there because of the fact that they really play with one linebacker a lot because they play like Donovan Wilson as another linebacker. That's why it was so big. The coaching staff absolutely wanted Donovan Wilson back because of how multiple they can be with what he can do coming downhill. So he plays like more of a linebacker. He's not really your coverage guy. He's not really your big interception pass breakup guy. He's coming downhill, laying the wood that you would kind of see from a traditional linebacker. But in today's NFL, you just have more defensive backs on the field. And so because of that, I don't think there's as much concern at linebacker. Now, obviously, Leighton's got to stay healthy. But if you tell me Leighton's healthy and Damone Clark are healthy, that's a great spot right there. And then, I'm going to give Jabril Cox the benefit of the doubt just because he was coming off the ACL last year. To be 2 years removed from that, let's see if he can add a little bit more. And if he can't, then maybe you move in another direction there. But I don't think that you need to make any more significant additions at linebacker. But, yeah, they're going to add somebody along the way, probably middle draft and maybe like a cheaper free agent type addition.
So let's turn our attention quickly then to the offensive side of the ball. This team still has needs at guard, at wide receiver, among other things. Where do you see the Cowboys still trying to make a move? Is it possibly via trade when it comes to a wide receiver, or do we start turning our attention more toward the draft when it comes to addressing needs at guard and also on the outside when it comes to receiver?
So, I think of guard as being a much bigger need than it seems like they do. I just don't see much depth being at guard at all. I guess they got Matt Farniak. I guess that would be your next guard up. And so I don't know how you can just go in the draft. I would think that they would try and add another veteran to help out there that can play guard and maybe help out at center. They really don't have a backup center either right now. So that is definitely a position that has to be on their radar. And if you're not going to do anything in free agency or make a move for a guy there, then I would think you'd have to spend a pretty high draft pick, maybe second or third round pick on the position, because I just don't see them drafting somebody in the fifth or sixth round and saying, no, this is our backup guard, for just how important this season is for everyone. Mike McCarthy, the entire team. They didn't make the Stephon Gilmore move because they're hoping to maybe win 10 games. They're trying to make a run here. So I think they're thin right now at guard, losing Connor McGovern. In terms of wide receiver, I still think that they're going to make a play for somebody. I don't necessarily think it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins or somebody on that level, but maybe somebody in free agency that takes a little bit less to play for the Cowboys that, is a number 2/3 type guy, or maybe they make a trade for someone to give up a pick or something like that. The guy that I just think would be great would be Jerry Jeudy. But I sit here and I'll be like, hey, give up your second round pick for Jerry Jeudy. I'd do that. But from everything I've read, Denver's asking for a lot. And so if that's the case, I wouldn't overpay for him. But that's a guy. Denver seems like a team that needs picks. I would be interested in doing that. I don't know how interested they are, though.